think we're here to educate people and help them understand what our services are all about. We can all go out and kill some bugs. It's our expertise that we bring to the table that is really going to help people have peace of mind and true solutions. It's going to sound like you're bribing me to say this. Apruv is a game changer for us. It's just that final piece that helps us make that connection with our customers, make sure every detail is really been addressed.
All right, pest control isn't just about killing bugs. It's about giving customers peace of mind. Spidexx has built their business around a satisfaction-first approach, promising that if pests come back, they do too, at no extra charge. Today, on this episode of the Pest Playbook, we'll hear how the Spidexx team has turned that mission into growing a multi-location pest control company. And we'll be talking with Jesica Fusick, who is the director of the customer experience team, and Nikolai Lumbrunner, who's a billing and data specialist. Guys, thanks so much for coming on and talking with us.
Thank you. It's our
Thanks
pleasure.
for having us.
I know that, like I said, the intro is the hardest part about this whole thing, because now we can just jump in and start talking. This is where we thrive and talk about it. So, but just like we were talking about before we went live with this, we would just love to kind of hear, maybe we could start with Jesica, because I think you've been there a little bit longer than Nikolai has. But Jesica, talk us through kind of when you started with Spidexx, what your role is and what you love most about working there.
I've been with Spidexx 5 years to the day. I was explaining yesterday was my anniversary. That's exciting. I have 30 years of customer service and sales experience that I brought to this role. What I really love about Spidexx Pest Control is that it's still a size that everybody plays a very pivotal role in our team. That matters to me. So what we're all doing here, no matter what role anyone plays, it really has a big impact on our customers' lives. And pest control is kind of personal. Sometimes, it's easy to forget that, but pest control is a very personal thing, especially when we're dealing with residential services. So I think that really what sets Spidexx apart is the way that we do personalize our customer experience. And that's really what
I agree. Before we hopped on, I was clicking through the website, and that's exactly what popped out to me was just the emphasis on customer satisfaction. And it is a really personal business. There's not very many businesses that's like, yeah, come to my home. In a lot of cases, come inside my home, treat my home and protect it from, pests and things like that. So I think you're exactly right. And then Nikolai, talk to us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been with Spidexx going on 4 years in October, so almost 4 years. And I handle a lot of the billing pieces, making sure that we're handling commercial accounts correctly, making sure that we're setting up customers correctly, and kind of catching any indiscrepancies that just don't line up with what our normal service should look like. One of the great things is, the Apruv videos actually do help us a lot in trying to make sure that everything is discussed with the customer and that it's exactly in line with everything that we should be, offering in terms of our typical services. Gosh, there's a lot of great things I think I have to say in regards to working for Spidexx and what I really like. I think the biggest portion for me is just personal growth as well as seeing the company grow. There's definitely hard things that I think we do because we're, sort of slowly scaling up. And I mean, part of that is stepping outside of your comfort zone, handling situations that you usually wouldn't handle in like a bigger, corporation essentially. So I think that personal growth really is what I love about working at Spidexx. And of course, I mean, we have a really great team as well here.
Yeah.
What brought you both into the pest world? I mean, let's say before Spidexx, where were you guys, and what got you into this space?
That's
Good
a really
question.
easy answer for me, and I can answer it in one word. My sister. My sister works for the company.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Good.
And I had come from a background of real estate, corporate relocation, and that included international relocations for high-level executives, property management. So a lot of things that have actually helped and lent themselves to understanding pest control and properties. But I actually joined this company in July, of course. This is my anniversary of 2020. So we were still really reeling from COVID. And I was ready to try something new. that allowed me to kind of do things that I sort of dreamed of, to be perfectly honest. I've come from corporate America. I've worked for some pretty large companies. And again, this is a really different vibe at Spidexx Pest Control. And although we've grown a lot in the 5 years that I've been here, we are a small company at heart. And I just think I will always see us that way. And so that's the draw to me.
Yeah, I love that. I love the ability to have impact in every role, like you're saying. I think that's a huge thing for people who are more, I'd say, entrepreneurial minded, which I assume you guys have some of that in you if you like that.
We are. My sister's been here for 7 years, and she's done a lot of different roles here, including helping us with acquiring some new pieces of business along the way, which is super cool. So it's truly family oriented for me.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I actually I came from food service. I was in the food service industry for 10 years. Went to culinary school for it. Pretty big change in sort of the direction of what I wanted to do. Happened right around COVID too, just because, when we ended up being furloughed for, I think it was like 6 or 8 months. When we came back, of course, you had a smaller team, but you still had to do the same volume. I was missing anniversaries, birthdays, baby showers, and I just did not want to, I think, dedicate that much time. And I was looking for something with a little bit more work-life balance and I think more of like a casual atmosphere. And when I got the call for the interview, I mean, that's exactly what I got from that interview right off the bat, that it was just a more relaxed environment. The executive partners here at Spidexx, they really care for you as a person, and it really shows, I mean, every single day, and it's just the biggest draw to the job too.
That's neat. That's great. We love hearing kind of the background stories because it's really funny how people find their way into pest. One of the other ones that we did, it was he was like on Wall Street, and he was a broker, and he was working 100-hour weeks, and then he's like, you know what? Maybe I'll explore this vertical. So it's great that it attracts smart, talented, entrepreneurial people like yourselves, and like Jared pointed out. And I'm actually so stoked to have you both as part of this conversation because it's kind of like two completely different but very important aspects of the business. Client satisfaction, and then billing and analysts is an important piece like that. So I want to start with Jesica. So Jesica, obviously in pest, I'm going to ask you the big question right here. What do you think is the most crucial part of making sure that clients are satisfied with Spidexx's services?
It is our job to not only employ good active listening skills, but, and by the way, you should know that I'm a mother of 4 children, so that's where I'm going to come at this from. But I think we're here to educate people. That's really our number one role in this industry, is educating people, because when people have issues, they might think that they know what solution they're looking for, but after we've really given them the right information, we may be leading them to a better solution. And I think that's a really important role, right? So maybe that one-time service for the chronic ant issue you've had at your house for the last 15 years isn't really the right solution for you. But maybe what you need is more of an ongoing maintenance plan, and we're here to talk to you about the options.
Interesting. So educating the client, that's interesting. So how do you go about doing it? Because I like the example that you gave, because I'm sure you get like one-off calls, like, there's an anthill that just won't go away. So how do you go about educating them? Is that something that your techs are trained to do when they go, and how does that education process line up?
They absolutely are. But, I can speak to that more from how we approach that from the office. So, every single solitary person that works on my team, that answers the phone, that replies to a chat response or an email, is really trained to educate our customers and help them understand what our services are all about, what the frequency is, what the value is, what we are helping them do. And sometimes that means helping people understand that, we're really bringing our expertise to the table is what we're bringing, right? Because we can all go out and kill some bugs. We can all go out and catch some mice. That's great. You can find those products in a variety of places, but it's our expertise that we bring to the table that is really going to help people have peace of mind and true solutions to the problems that they're dealing with. So our team is ready to help customers understand that. And that's what really builds value. So listening, educating, and then bringing solutions that have value.
That's great. That's man, you teed that up nicely, because you're exactly right. The more that we talk to, people in this industry, we do ride-alongs too. We did a ride-along recently where we went through the day and how we treated the home and the property. You just come to realize that there's just so much more than just going out and killing bugs. It's not that simple. There's so many different touch points and pieces and things you have to pay attention to. And I bet you, Nikolai, that's probably what overlaps a lot with kind of what you do as well too, because it sounds like Jesica has a lot of like facing the clients, making sure that they're satisfied, educating the techs, providing all that. But then how does that overlap kind of with what you do and when you're looking at the numbers and things?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it definitely overlaps in terms of we actually have a service that's like a vole, mole, clover mite treatment, and those are accounts that we need to pretty much go out on a weekly basis, to make sure that we're covering the population before it has a chance to essentially explode. And part of some of the audits that we do include checking those accounts, because our agreements might say, oh, it's 6 services, but if our technician goes out on that 6th service and notices, oh, there's still a lot of activity at this home, we might have it set where it automatically closes that account out, but we need to go back and double check those just to make sure that we're monitoring that activity. So it's definitely, I think, a team effort where we're educating the customer on the front end of like what we really are bringing in terms of expertise. And then we're also making sure that we need to do that follow up on the back end to make sure that we're really delivering and following through on, okay, well, our professional suggested another couple weeks, even though it said 6 appointments, we might need to do another 2 here. So that's really where I think that connect happens.
Interesting. And so
we need to get Spidexx over here in Idaho.
Oh gosh,
we had clover mites not too long ago.
Yeah,
and you guys know clover mites are
tricky.
Tough.
Yeah,
they are.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not out on a weekly basis, if you miss a couple days, yeah, I mean, they can come right back.
You do need us, because I'll tell you what, we've got that figured out at Spidexx, and I'm not kidding. We do.
That's awesome, because most pest control companies don't over here.
No,
so that's cool
like that's
to see you guys.
We've really thrived. So we're going to figure out how to send somebody out there for you.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, please.
Client satisfaction right there, right on the podcast. That's great. So that actually leads into another interesting question then. So clover mites, is there another bug, insect that you guys have really kind of, what's the secret, I guess, to figuring out? You said, Jesica, we got clover mites figured out. Like, what's the process for figuring out that process for treating clover mites or any of the insects you guys treat?
Sure. I think the other one that I feel particularly proud of with the service that we offer is our vole service. I think really sets us apart as a company. There's a lot of companies out there that might promote vole services, but I feel like we really approach that in a way that treats voles. Well, moles as well. And I want to add here that I think that one of the key ingredients is communication between the office and the field, and really having a lot of conversation so that the field knows what we're telling about customers and that we know how the field is taking care of those customers. How are they doing those services? So we're all on the same page and we can really understand from both aspects, right? So we are using vole tea stations. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those. We do weekly intervals. We feel like that's really what it takes for voles. Same thing for clover mites, as a matter of fact. So making sure that our technicians are properly trained, they know the right products to use, and they know the right frequency, and they know how to identify what we're actually dealing with. Because how many times have people dealt with that? You got to know what to treat for, and that's the only way you're going to nail it. So I think that's the upper edge that we've got on both clover mites and voles.
Interesting.
So you touched on communication with the field. Dive into that a little bit deeper. Like how do you consistently do that in a sustainable way to get that feedback loop coming in?
Yeah, so I just stalk the people in the field all the time. Actually, I think that we all really like working together, and I consider our regional managers in the field to truly be subject matter experts. I mean, these are guys that have decades of experience under their belt. They know what they're doing, and so pick up the phone and call them. I mean, of course, we've got a chat, we've got email, we do Google Meets, and that's important. Just got off one a few minutes ago, but sometimes you just got to pick up the phone. Ask good questions. Talk about what's going on. Talk about this customer. What does this customer need from us, and how can we find some solutions for them? So a lot of communication.
Love that.
And I think that's surprising too, that I think, what was it? We ended up having somebody apply for a role by us before, and they were really surprised when they were told, oh, they, like, a regional knew a customer by name, and that Jess, I think, spoke to that regional about that specific customer, and he's like, well, it's a specific instance. Like, do you know all your customers by name? I mean, of course we don't. But I mean, if a conversation needs to be had about a specific instance, I think that's sort of where you can come up with solutions, because we are both on the same team. And, I don't have 30 years of pest control experience. So, I mean, it always helps leading on that person to walk through a specific example, because I think that's how you identify the root of an issue more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I mean, the one-on-one is really how you get the real information, right? There's no other way. I love that.
Yeah, that is, and Jared pointed that out, like that is probably a hurricane of different messages and emails and phone calls and things. And then at the same time, Jessica, you guys talked about how you guys have tripled in growth, since the time that you have been part of the company. So how do you continue to kind of keep that personal touch, that high level of client satisfaction, and continue to grow?
That's a real challenge. I'm not gonna lie. That's something that we work really hard at here at this company. I do a lot of one-on-ones with each and every one of my employees. I'm listening to their calls. I'm giving them feedback, and that's my job. That's what I'm doing every single day, because we do have to keep this personal. Even as we grow, we have to make it personal. So many times, in fact, I just was training somebody earlier today, and they said, if you were having this conversation with your mother, like, how would that go? Make it personal. You're talking to your sister, that customer is your aunt, Mabel, whatever the case is. We're people, they're people. And we really have to make a personal connection with our customers, because at the end of the day, that's what I want from my job. I'm not a robot. We aren't dealing with widgets here. We're dealing with people.
I think that also rolls over again, just like, the two players that we have on the show today talking to us about it is, focusing on the customer satisfaction and working closely with your teammates. And then, so Nikolai, when you look at it from the business analyst perspective, then like, are there certain points or certain things that stand out to you that are like, okay, this is what we need to really try to prioritize with our technicians so that they're understanding what Jessica's trying to teach them? What are the data points that you're looking at?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of things that we look on, on a daily basis. I mean, we always look at our reservice rates too, not just because it's a cost saver, where if we have less reservices, we also utilize that as training opportunities. You mentioned keeping it personal. Phone systems that we have, we're able to actually look deeper into the data and, like Jess has mentioned, provide one-on-one feedback. I really do think that feedback, comes from those data points that we look at, whether it's reservice rates for the field, our phone volumes for the office. And I think when we train somebody successfully to be able to handle situations they normally wouldn't have been able to handle, it does sort of bring that personal touch to that customer. I mean, we were here when we had 4 branches. We're up to 9. I mean, yeah, it's definitely different, but we still want to have that same feel that we had when we just had those 4 branches when we're talking to customers. And I think that's really a way to sort of perpetuate that.
That's awesome. That's so cool, because it just kind of continues to come up as we're talking naturally about this, keeping that personal touch, but continuing to grow. So what I really want to dive into this, because it seems to be something that we're talking with more and more people about, like specific data points. You talked about reservice rates as a big one. How are you monitoring for like these data points? How are you collecting them? How are you using them? Are there other ones that come to mind when you think about like measuring the effectiveness of the service and client satisfaction?
Yeah, it's a really good point. So, we use, probably like most pest companies use right now, field routes. And I mean, they definitely have a lot of, I think, customizable reports. I'm not sure how some smaller companies are utilizing those reports, but I mean, you can go in there and pull out whatever information you want. Typically, I go month by month for just like a big end of the month report where we actually pull up, okay, we had from the 1st of the month to the 30th of the month, how many scheduled appointments did we have? And then we actually have it set in there where we pull up how many of those appointments then are retreatments, follow-up appointments, whether that's for mice follow-up or, vole follow-ups. And then, of course, callbacks. And those callbacks typically are, oh, we missed something, so now we have to go back to the customer. We actually do pull up every single one of those, and we can organize it in a way where we're pulling up the appointment notes. So then we can kind of see, like, why are we coming back to this customer, right? And if we notice that in 1 month we have a whole bunch of ant follow-ups, okay, well, could it be because we're not properly applying products? Could it be that maybe we're running into resistance, which up until a couple of years ago I didn't even realize that was a huge thing, but it just makes so much sense. And it kind of helps us adjust in those regards of trying to lower that retreatment rate. And not only does it save us money as a company, but we also end up, I think, with a higher customer satisfaction, because if a customer's been dealing with ants for the last month and now all of a sudden we managed to get a handle of them and got rid of them, and we don't need to keep coming back out there, I mean, of course, they're going to be happier with that too. There's a lot of data points, I think, that we collected, and more so since I really took the dedicated role. We really monitor our retention rates and how many accounts we're saving. We're really monitoring how many accounts we're actually closing out and why we're closing those out. I know we're also monitoring how many sales we're doing. I mean, where our leads are coming from, what is our biggest lead generator and how many leads are we getting from it? Well, how many leads are we actually closing from that same lead generator? Is it worth it to invest more money into this? Yeah, I definitely think over the last 2 years now, it's been more and more focused on collecting that data and kind of adjusting things, as needed. We adjusted some of the collection messages that we sent out based on where our collection rates were at. I mean, I really do think that, since Jess and I kind of really fit into our role, there's a lot of changes and adjustments that we did based on a bunch of different data pieces.
Excellent. So you touched on a question I want to ask. I asked Jessica a big question. I want to ask you a big question, because this is a gold question I think people could really learn from. With collections and with billing. How do you make that system roll? How do you make that as seamless and, just without problems for the clients as possible? Because I imagine, that's, once the money is exchanging hands, that's probably where a lot of potential friction or frustration come up. How do you streamline that? How do you make that hum?
I'm going to let Nikolai answer some of that, but I want to answer one thing up front, because I think this is an area that Spidexx just really has it figured out. And that's that we start early with the collections process. We don't let any dust settle, and we don't mean to harass our customers by any stretch of the imagination. But we call, text, and email our customers twice a week, starting really right away if a balance is on the account. So we get right on top of that. And obviously it escalates from there. And that's absolutely Nikolai's niche with the continuing collection efforts. But our customer service team, and I like that it's framed this way at our company, but it's our customer service representatives who give courtesy calls to our customers to see if maybe something has just changed with a credit card, just simply needs to be updated. And it's a fantastic opportunity for us to touch base on customer service issues at that point. Obviously, if things have to escalate beyond that point, then we'll get a little more vigilant as we continue our efforts. But to me, the best measure of success there, or what leads us to success, is we start very early with our collection process. And it is with courtesy call. And it's an opportunity for us to simply touch base with the customer. Great time to see how things are going.
Yeah. Cool. And you know, to add to that too, a lot of what collections also is more so being proactive and preventative over sort of chasing down somebody, you know, where you might have a balance. You know, whether that's making sure you have credit cards on file that are set to auto pay, or, you know, if a customer likes to pay by check, making sure that they have the right sort of process set up where they're getting invoices mailed to them if they prefer that. So I do think a big portion of it is to prevent the invoice from sort of, you know, not actually getting paid in the first place. From there on, I mean, yeah, you know, you do have to end up letting that customer know there is a balance on the account. We really do a lot of soft collection for the first 30 days where, I mean, you know, we've all been there where, oh, I had my credit card expire and I have 50 different things set up for auto pay and I missed one thing. I mean, that's really the approach I think that we take for those first 30 days. And then, you know, of course, after that, we get a little bit more into, okay, well, you know, please let us know when you can update this payment, because I mean, we're going to start running into service interruptions, you know, possible fees, things like that. So that, I think that's really what the collection process looks like. We're sort of easing, you know, our follow-up and everything. And then we do end up working with a third-party company when it starts hitting 60 plus days, when it's sort of like really late paying customers. And, you know, I think for our scale, we really don't have a ton of these, which is nice to see. But when that does happen, we do hand them over to another collection agency and they'll actually do the follow-up and everything for that.
That's got to be, I just know that's got to be something that, I mean, Nikolai, you seem like you handle it very well, but I imagine there's some struggles and some challenges associated with that.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Kind of changing gears a little bit. So with your growth, assuming that continues, and I'm sure it will with the team you guys have in place and even escalating, what do you guys see as the next big challenges or gaps or things that you'll need to solve, and where are you guys looking?
I think that I can't speak to what our goals are for continued growth, but what I can speak to is that at this point, this company is focused on quality. So how are we going to maintain where we're at and continue to move forward? It's going to be with quality. We're going to give quality in services, quality in our customer care, quality in our data. We want to make sure that we're doing it and we're doing it right, and that we are really measuring our progress. And that's really where Nikolai's job comes in, is, you know, you have to have a measuring stick and got to have that data in place to make sure that you're hitting the mark. So as we continue to grow, honestly, that data piece is critical so that we know that we're working smarter every day, and that data drives us towards that.
Quality and data, that is a beautiful summation of that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I kind of want to add to that too. You know, Jess is kind of building me up here, and I mean, of course, I want to build her up, because I mean, there's a lot of processes that we did not have in place 2 years ago that you know, didn't make it apparent sort of, what do we do in certain situations? I mean, we really revamped a lot of these things. And, I think Jess and I work really well together to the point where, I have the measuring stick, but she's really the one who's executing it and putting that into motion and putting a plan in place and sort of a process for our team to follow. I mean, we probably went, our documentation in terms of what we need to do in certain situations probably tripled, if not quadrupled in size since we really started here. And, looking back at it, it's definitely, I think, a sense of pride in just knowing that you were part of that. Jess definitely did, I think, most of the heavy lifting when it came to putting those processes in place, making sure that people follow them and really enforcing them.
Well, awesome. Well, we're at the top of the 30 minutes. So before we wrap up, we'd love to get your guys' thoughts on Apruv. We've really enjoyed working with Spidexx. You guys are very organized and helped us work really well with you guys. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on working with Apruv.
Oh, gosh.
I
please go ahead, Nikolai.
Jared, I love it. I gotta say, you already impressed me a couple times whenever we had to sort of add something really quickly. I think it was Memorial Weekend where we ended up kind of tossing something on you guys where it's like, yeah, we need these 6 scripts set up before the weekend. And yeah, I mean, you guys came back and implemented it, no problem. Very responsive in terms of support. It really sounds like you guys are getting a lot of feedback and actually taking that feedback and making adjustments, which I think is just critical in any business if you want to stay current with anything.
Yes.
And
I love that. Thank you.
That Apruv is, it's going to sound like you bribed me to say this. You didn't. Apruv is a game changer for us. It's really what it comes down to. And I'll tell you why. Because if we're talking about sales representative meeting with a customer, and again, back to that educating them piece, that happens fast and furious. We do our level best to really help customers understand the service that they're signing up for. But having them go through that video and really reviewing the top points helps the customer really understand what it is that the service is all about. And it's just that final piece that helps us make that connection with our customers and make sure every detail is really been addressed. So that's what I'm really loving about Apruv, is just better customer communication. And that's what we're all about. That's
awesome. Thank you guys both for sharing that. That's great to hear.
Excellent. That does tie in nicely with the mission, Jess and Nikolai, that you have emphasized from the very beginning, customer satisfaction and delivering quality results. So that's great. Well, Jared's exactly right. We're top of time. That was beautiful. That was fun. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing more with us about Spidexx. We really appreciated having you both on.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.